All right, so welcome to the last session of our personal profiling and branding workshop. And in this workshop, we are going to be looking at job search. How do you search for a job? Where do you search for a job? Where do you find the job you are looking for? And the interview strategies. What are the things you need to do in order to be able to have a winning interview? You have to ensure that as you go for the interview, you come out successful and victorious, right? So that's what we're going to be discussing in this session, right? What is the job search? Now let's look at it. The job search is the process of actively seeking employment opportunities that align with skills, qualifications, and career goals. On this note, I beg to say that a lot of people who want to get jobs are not conducting a job search. They are just waiting. Waiting does not mean that you are searching, and that is very, very critical. When you get a job, it is important that you search for the job. It's important that you go look for it. You don't sit down waiting for somebody to call you. You don't sit down scrolling through newspaper. You don't sit down, just hoping that something will come up. No, you have to go all out. And when you're going all out, you're not just looking for any job advert, because when people applying for jobs and it's obvious they're not going to get invited to interview, one, they are not qualified. It's not every job you see that you are going to apply for. So you need to, that is where the search comes in. When you are searching, you are discarding some, you are keeping some. So that is very, very critical, because the bottom line is your skill, your qualification, your career goals. Your skill, your qualification, your career goals. So whatever job you think you want to apply for, you need to check these three things. Do you have the skill? Do you have the qualification? Does it match your career goals? You understand? So it involves various steps, from researching potential employers and applying for jobs, to networking, preparing for interviews. Now, a successful job search requires a strategic approach, right? Persistence, a clear understanding of your professional aspirations, right? That is very, very critical. So, how to conduct a job search? What are the steps that you can use to conduct a job search? Number one is what self-assessment and goal setting. Assess yourself. What are your skills? What are your qualifications? And what are your career goals? Once you have stated these things out, you identify your skills and your strengths. You consider your technical skills, your soft skills, and your transferable skills. What do you bring to the table that sets you apart from other candidates? You have to be able to lay out these things clearly. And then define your career goals. What kind of role are you seeking? What are the kind of roles that fits you? Are you looking for a new challenge, a higher salary, a different industry, or a better work-life balance? You have to be able to put all of these your career goals on the table for you to know if a particular job is for you. And then the next one is what evaluate your job preferences. Decide what aspect of the job are most important to you, such as location. Is it the location? Is it the salary? Is it the company culture? Is it the job security? Or is the growth potential? So you need to be able to put all of these things in perspective in order to be able to, put in order to be able to find the type of job you need. Number two is, once you have been able to do this self-assessment and these things that we mentioned in perspective, the next thing you need to do is to do what you call is researching job opportunities. You need to actively research opportunities. Use your job boards. Utilize online job search engines like Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, or industry-specific job boards to search for open positions. Now, job boards are online platforms where people go to advertise their openings in their account. For example, we talk about LinkedIn. Companies go to LinkedIn to advertise. We talk about your Glassdoor. People go on Glassdoor to advertise. And then there are other industry-specific boards where people go and advertise. Look for these boards. You understand? Follow these boards. Stay connected and look for the offers that have been advertised. The next is what company website. Visit the company website directly to find job postings and learn about their culture, mission, and values, very, very critical. Culture, mission, values. You see, you can find a job that perfectly meets you, you are qualified, but the company, you cannot work with the company. Your person, your personality, the kind of things you do, your values does not match the value of the company, so you cannot work with them. So it's not just all about being qualified, it's about whether you'll be able to work with the company. Then look at their schedule, their work schedule, their employees. Look at their employees, as somebody said, he said, if you are going in to work in any organization, the employees that were there before you is a perfect picture of what you can become in the next 2-3 years. So this will have been there, have been working for 5 years, 10 years, test you the kind of person you are likely to become, right? So all of these things are things that you need to put into perspective. So you need to visit the company website. If you have seen an opening that you like, don't just apply. Look at the company critically. The next is networking. I want to leverage professional and personal networks, to discover advertised job openings or to get referrals, right? And then industry events, attend job fairs, industry conferences, networking events, to connect with potential employers. The next is applying for the job. Once you have done your self-assessment, you have searched for the job on job boards, you have find the job that you need, you have researched the company, and you are happy with what you see, you now follow up with the application. Now, it's important in doing this that what we follow the application instructions. Make sure to submit all required materials, the resume, cover letter, portfolio, and the others, according to the instructions. The next is to apply early. You want to make sure that your application is there on time. Then track your application. Keep contact of the applications, keep documentation of the applications, and then you also want to keep following up. Now, let us look at some interview strategies. A job interview is a formal conversation between the job candidate and a potential employer, typically conducted to assess the candidate's qualifications, skills, experience, and suitability of a specific job role. Now, the interview provides both the employer and the candidate with the opportunity to elevate each other, and to evaluate each other and decide if there is a mutual fit for the position and the company. Remember that in getting employed, you are not the only person who is. The company is not just the person employing you, are also employing the company, right? So if the company is employing you, in the same instance, in the same scenario, in the same situation, you're also employing the company, because you're going to be working for the company. So in the same way the company interrogates you to see whether you are qualified, is the same way you want to also interrogate the company to see if they are also qualified to have you. This makes more sense when you add some value to yourself, right? So now, preparing for a job interview, let me give you some tips, some things you need to do to prepare for a job interview. Number one, which I have said repeatedly, is to research the role, the company, or the organization. I've blocked that enough, I won't make emphasis. Next is to get response to common questions. You need to get response from your interviewers to common questions, or even before you go for the interview, you need to get some answers. There are some questions that will be on your mind. You need to find answers to those questions. Next is to stay confident and calm. Next is to create a list of questions to ask interviewers. Come up with a list of questions you are going to ask those people who are going to interview in the panel. Come up with a list of questions that you are going to ask them before you go for the interview. Then your outfit, your corporate etiquette, and your appearance is also very, very important. Make sure that you appear smart. Then when you go, make sure that you don't put up any nasty attitude. The next is what? Practice your interview skills and questions. It is important for you to practice your interview skills. You practice how you're going to answer some questions and all that. And let's look at types of interviews. We are about to call the phone interview. Phone interviews are interviews that are conducted over the phone. The panel calls you, and then you respond to their questions via the phone. Next is virtual interviews. Virtual interviews are interviews that are conducted via maybe like meeting apps, like maybe you're having a WhatsApp video call, or you're having maybe doing it on Google Meet or doing it on Zoom. These are all virtual. In doing all of this, you want to make sure that there are no distractions. Even on the phone, you want to make sure there are no distractions, there are no noises around. Whatever camera it is, you want to make sure that the camera is completely clear. And the in-person interviews are the ones that we are most common with, where they invite you and then you do in person. And then informational interviews. Informational interviews is especially used by job applicants, for corporate profiling. This can be valuable networking tool and provide important insights which may be helpful in actual job application. So informational interviews are interviews. You go to an organization, you ask them questions, you go and look at the workers, who are those people working there, go and ask those workers questions about the company and all that, And then panel interviews. This also is very, very common. You go for an interview, you face a panel, 2-3 people, they are there asking you a series of questions, and then you provide answers to those questions, And the next is what behavioral interview. Behavioral interviews are interviews that focus on past behavior, and then we try to find out, okay, when you were in this situation, what did you do? What was your behavior? You want to know your sense of character, your sense of humor, the way you are likely to respond to incidents and all that. So that's what a behavioral interview is all about. Of course, there can be a hybrid of all of these type of interviews I just mentioned. Now, what are some common interview questions? This is very, very interesting. The first one here is, can you tell me about yourself? Right? And in session 1 of this workshop, we mentioned something similar. That when we ask you, please tell me about yourself. Can you tell me about yourself? What are you going to say? We are talking about you focusing on your skills, competence, your experience, your career goals, your UVP, your unique value proposition. These are the things you want to know. The next is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Very important. You want to be able to. If you have done your profiling, all of these questions will not be difficult for you, because you already have the answers by now. Then, why are you interested in this job role? The next question is, what relevant experiences do you bring to this position? Do you have experience before? The next is, how would you handle a conflict with a colleague? Right? This now speaks to the behavioral interview. And then, what are your short-term and long-term career goals? Okay? Why should we hire you? It's another question that can be asked in an interview. Then, what are some of your proudest professional accomplishments? What are some of the accomplishments that you are most proud of? If you don't have anyone, I will speak for you. Now, let's look at some tricky interview questions. Very tricky interview questions that can mar your interview, right? If you don't answer these questions correctly, you are likely to have failed the interview. Number one is, what is your biggest weakness? You go for an interview and they ask you, what is your biggest weakness? Be very careful how you answer that question. You want to answer the question in a way that does not create the impression that you are helpless in the presence of that weakness, right? And you want to create the impression, even if you are helpless, and you still have to admit to the fact that you are helpless, because sometimes they are going to press the question down to see if you are helpless or not. You have to give the impression that you are ready to work on it, you are already researching and working on it, and all of that. The next is, why should we hire you over other candidates? Now, they are giving you opportunity to talk down on other candidates. Don't focus on talking down on other candidates. Just focus on magnifying what you have. Remember, we talk about branding. Branding is magnifying your capacity, magnifying what you do, right? So, you make a mistake if you go and start talking about other candidates that you don't even know, right? Because that's a mistake a lot of people make often. So, don't go and waste your time talking about the other candidates that you don't know. Focus on magnifying your competence and your skills and the value that you bring to the table. Next is, tell me about the time you fail. They want to learn about your failure, like your weakness. This can be another thing that can destroy your interview. So you want to ensure that mentioning your failures, you also mention the lessons that you learn from it. They ask you about your failures, but don't talk about talking about your failures. Quickly go on and talk about what you have learned from it and how that experience has helped you to also achieve something else. You understand? So that is very, very critical. And the next is, what is your salary expectation? It's also another tricky question you can come across in an interview, because this one too can tell the organization that they cannot work with you, right? So again, you still need to be able to put, you talk about personal valuation and professional valuation, then you need to be able to put a price on yourself. So if you have done that from the session 2 of our workshop, then this question will not be difficult for you to answer. You understand? The next is how much were you earning or currently earning, how much were you earning in your previous role, or how much are you currently earning in your current role, right? This is also another tricky role because they may want to use that to benchmark. They want to use that to decide how much they are going to pay you. If you know where you were working before didn't really pay you so much, you need to make it clear to them that you weren't there for the pay, that you were there maybe for your passion, or maybe you were there out of volunteer, whatever it is. Just give them the impression that amount, even you yourself, you are aware that it's below your valuation as a person, and that you were doing it maybe for passion or whatever reason you think is genuine enough. And then the last one is what are your gaps in employment questions? So you said you were employed, you said you worked between 2015 to 2020, and then from 2020 to 2022, there's nothing, you didn't do any work. And they're asking you, what did you use those 2 years and do? Why that gap? You need to be able to also answer it creatively, be able to give them details of what you use those 2 years to achieve. So that it will not be as if you are just irrelevant in those 2 years. Okay? Common interview mistakes you need to avoid. Let us look at some of the mistakes you need to avoid. When you go for an interview. Number 1, arriving late or unprepared and appearing too casual. Don't appear too casual for an interview. Then don't arrive late for interview. Don't go to interview unprepared. Very critical. Next. Number 2 is speaking negatively about your past employers or colleagues. Don't speak negatively about anybody when you go for an interview. The people sitting before you are also people that you speak, right? So you don't want to go to an interview, no matter how you think you want to impress the people sitting beside you. They may be laughing there with you, but later when they go back, they have an afterthought. This guy that just came and was just bombarding his boss, or just criticizing his company, the company he works for, it creates a very bad image for you. So you don't want to do that. Now, failing to research the company or job position. You cannot afford to not research the company or the job position. Ensure to conduct your research. Then getting hung up on a tough question. Don't make sure you don't get stuck on the tough question. Very, very important. Move on quickly. Then speaking too much or too little. Don't speak too little. Don't speak too much. Just find the middle ground. Then number 6 is what? Not asking thoughtful questions of your own. It's important for you to ask very, very thoughtful questions of your own. And I'm going to give you examples of those questions. Examples of questions that you should ask when you go for an interview. Right? Number 1, what are the day-to-day responsibilities of this role? You can ask your partner this question. What are the day-to-day responsibilities that is involved in the role? Number 2, what are the top priorities for this position in the first 90 days? You give them the impression that you are ready to work. You understand? What are the top priorities for this job or for this job role in the first 90 days? Assuming I'm employed now, what will be my top priorities for the first 90 days? It shows them that yes, this guy is ready. The next is, what are the metrics for measuring success for this role? How would I know I'm successful in this role? Then, how would you describe the company culture? You can ask them this question too. Then, how does the company live up to its mission statement? You can also ask them this. Then, how is the team dynamics like? You want to ask them about the dynamics of the team. Then, can you tell me more about other team members? You can ask them about other people who are going to be working with you. Then, what are the company's goals for the next year? What are the goals of the company? It shows that you have interest in the company. Then, what are the next steps in the hiring process? Okay, I'm here for an interview now. So after this interview, what next? Asking them that question also shows them your level of interest. Then, when can I expect to hear back after the position? After the interview, you will ask them when you expect to hear from them, or when you getting the feedback from them. Then, what are the available training or development opportunities that are attached to the role? It shows that you have commitment to developing and commitment to growth. So you want to ask them some questions that are pertaining to this. Then, how might this role evolve into future opportunities within the company? Can I move from this role to another role? and all of those things. Now, what are some of the things you need to do when you are in interview? Lastly, let's look at this. Handling of post-interview. After interview, what are the things you need to do? First is sending a thank you note or email. You can send a thank you note, a thank you letter, a thank you email to the hiring manager, thanking you for inviting you for the interview. Number two, keep in touch with the company or the interviewer. You understand? First, then the next is dealing with rejection or no response. If you didn't get any rejection, you didn't get any response, just move on. They have moved on. So they have found the person they want, the person is good. Unfortunately, it's not you, they don't need you, just go ahead. It doesn't mean that another company doesn't need you. Then accepting job offer. Assuming they call you, then you can go ahead and accept the job offer. The next is declining and rejecting the job offer. Assuming they give you the job, but you see that the conditions that come with it are not what you can bear, you can also reject the offer. Then negotiations and renegotiating the job offer. Another thing you can do after an interview is to renegotiate, the job offer. You can give the job offer a call. I know at an interview we discussed this matter, but I wanted to look at the salary structure, the working conditions, and all that. So these are things that you can do after your interview. Thank you very much for participating in this workshop. Now, there's a little assignment here I need to do. And number one, I need you to provide a list of the top 10 companies in your career path or industry, and provide a list of job positions and matches. How many companies are within your reach? And I like this company, the top one, and then the job roles that fit you. I like them also. Then sample their latest job adverts. Go to their latest job adverts, examining the roles and qualifications to identify your learning gaps. Very critical. Go to their website or wherever it is that they have advertised and look at their previous adverts for that particular role that you are qualified. This will help you identify what you call your learning gaps. Your learning gaps are the things that they are looking for that you don't have, the skills that they are looking for that you don't have. So this will go a long way to help you, right? Then identify job ads platforms, utilize and networking events organized by these companies. Identify the various networking events that they organize, and then also identify the platform they use in advertising their job so that you can visit them frequently in case they start advertising. Then research their social media handles of those companies and then follow them. You understand? It's important that you research their social media handles and follow them, right? So don't forget to write down also your unique value proposition and your career objective. Don't forget to update your social media profile to reflect your UVP. And also, you want to develop a functional email for yourself. Very, very important. We discussed about the functional email earlier, a functional resume earlier, and then write a code cover letter that matches your UVP and career objectives. I mentioned the importance of a code cover letter earlier. That a code cover letter, many companies don't advertise because you already have a bunch of code cover letters. People have already indicated interest. That is how bankers move from bank into bank B. So you can go to Zenith Bank this week. You see that this guy has been working there, and then you go to Access Bank another week. You see that this guy that was working here last week is now with Access Bank. How did he do it so quickly? He moved from this bank to the next bank because he dropped a code cover letter. While he was still with Zenith, he dropped a code cover letter at Access. You understand? Or at TT. So you see, he's still working at Zenith. He has a plan of leaving. He's looking for a better pay. He's looking for a better working condition. So he dropped a cover letter for that company that he thinks has that condition he's looking for. Then when that position becomes vacant, as long as that position is not vacant, it remains with the previous organization. Once that position becomes vacant, he moves, right? So this is how critical a code cover letter is. So please ensure to properly utilize a code cover letter in whatever it is that you are doing. Also, I want you to remember to always, especially when it comes to your social media, very, very critical, because that's the first place people go to look at. So please ensure to update your social media. Once again, thank you very much for participating in this workshop, and Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to invite your friends. If this workshop has blessed you, please don't forget to invite your friends to also participate in this workshop. It's free, right? And once you participate in this workshop in the end, watching this right now, you are entitled to certificate of participation from Jumbo Resources. Once again, I'm Gabriel AJ, and I'm the lead consultant at Jumbo Resource Center. Thank you.